Hello students. Today we are going to study Social Studies, History, Chapter 1, When, Where and How, Part 3. In previous parts we had already studied about timeline, importance of history, significance of dates in history and geographical time frame. Today in this presentation we will learn more about sources of history and their classifications. As we already have discussed, history is the study of past. So how can we know about the past? Obviously, we need some sources to study it. These sources can be classified into two major divisions, namely archaeological and literary. For prehistory and protohistory, we get the information from the archaeological sources, and for history, we need to study the written sources such as manuscripts, inscriptions, coins, seals, and copper plates. Monuments and the accounts of foreign travelers and chroniclers are most important sources of information for the historians. Archaeological sources. These are the sources which archaeologists carefully excavate from the places where ancient people lived. Now, archaeologist is a person who studies and analyzes physical remains. They are direct sources of history. Archaeological sources include monuments, inscriptions, artifacts, coins, and seals. So first, let us see about monuments. Temples, forts, palaces, and other structures built for some special purposes are called monuments. They tell us about the period in which they were built, the artistic skill of that period, the religion that received the patronage of builders or rulers, etc. So what is this, children? This is Taj Mahal. We all know that the Taj Mahal was built by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. It was built by him in memory of his third wife Mumtaz Mahal. Hawa Mahal. Hawa Mahal stands upright as the entrance to the city palace, Jaipur. An important landmark in the city, Hawa Mahal is an epitome of the Rajputana architecture. The splendid five-story Palace of the Winds is a blend of beauty and splendor, much close to Rajasthan's culture. Maharaja Swami Pratap Singh built Hawa Mahal in 1779. The pyramid shape of this ancient monument is a tourist attraction having 953 small windows. So students, these are the examples of monuments. Now moving forward, we have inscriptions. Writings engraved on rocks, pillars, metal plates, clay tablets, walls of temples, houses, etc. are called inscriptions. The study of inscriptions is known as epigraphy. They tell us about the victories of rulers in battles, donations made or rulers or the peoples to temple or to the extent of kingdoms, etc. We come to know about the Gupta's reign from the Allahabad pillar inscriptions. The process of reading and understanding the script used in inscriptions is known as decipherment. In this image, we can see the main edicts of Emperor Ashoka were written in Brahmi script. Next, artifacts. Articles such as tools, weapons, potteries, tiny sculptures, toys, jewelry, etc., made and used by people in the past are called artifacts. They are found by archaeologists in the course of excavations. They give us vital clues about the past. To excavate means to dig. These are few artifacts of ancient India, jewelry of ancient India, and ancient pottery. Next, we have coins. Among the archaeological sources, coins are of special interest to the historians. In ancient India, coins were made of a variety of materials such as lead, copper, bronze, silver, and gold. The coins tell us about the period of a ruler's reign, social and economic conditions of that time, and its trade relation with other regions. For example, Roman coins excavated in Arikamedu tells us that trade relations existed between India and Rome. A coin depicting the ruler Samudragupta playing a veena tells us about his musical interest. The study of coins is known as numismatics. Here we can see different kind of coins. Coins of Gupta dynasty, a silver coin of Rajendra Chola, coins of Mughal, and coins of Delhi Sultanate. Seals. Seals are objects with engraved emblem or stamp of authority like those found at the Indus Valley sites showing animals and figures of God. They also contain inscriptions from which archaeologists can get information if deciphered, like the Pashupati seal, etc. In this image, we can see an Indus Valley seal showing the figure of a yogi called Pashupati. Children, if you cannot see the clear image, you can see it on textbook page number 5. Now moving forward to literary sources. All written records of the past are literary sources. Many of the available literary sources of ancient India are manuscripts. Manuscripts were generally written on birch bark, bhojpatra, and palm leaves. The language of these manuscripts were in Prakrit and Sanskrit, and the manuscript used was Brahmi, which is no longer in use. In this image, we can see manuscripts on palm leaves. Manuscripts on the bark of a birch tree. Now, literary sources have been divided or has been divided into two subpoints, religious literature and secular literature. So first, let us see about religious literature. Writing on religious themes are called religious literature. By studying these books, historians are able to understand the nature of society, religion, and politics of that time. The Vedas, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the three Pitakas, Puranas, and Uppuranas provide a wealth of knowledge about India's ancient past. Secular literature. The literature that is not connected with any religion is called secular literature. It includes the account of foreign travelers, biographies of kings, and books on politics and science. For example, the Indica written by Megasthenes, the accounts of Fa Hien and Hyun Tsang, Harshacharitra written by Banabhatta. So students, with this, we have completed our chapter 1. So your homework is you have to write down an information about father of the history. For reference, you can see page number 6 of Social Studies textbook. Thank you.